Hey, it feels different, right?
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Fantasy Sports. We are obviously in season 4 here, and I wanted to shy away from football and shy away from basketball. Next week we're going to be heading back into basketball, just with the fact that I do have 2 podcast guests that will be on, so I'm excited for that. I hope you guys are excited as well, because like I had said in the first episode, I definitely want to get more people coming on these episodes and just being more focused around just not me. If that makes any sense. I know I did that last episode to finish off season 3, and so I'm looking forward to it. But to get into here, I wanted to focus on MLB just because it obviously opened a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been able to close in on it. So I felt like starting it off would just only make sense to give my early award winner predictions. I felt like that was a good thing to cover. Obviously, I can't cover much of what's gone on just because it's so young, it's so early on. I mean, it's only like 10 to 15 games for certain teams, and it's a 160 game plus season, so I just feel like focusing more or less on who I predict to win certain awards would be more enjoyable, and especially seeing where I wind up at the end of the season compared to what I predict now. That'll definitely be something to look back on. So for the American League, I'll start with MVPs, and for the American League, I feel like aside from what's been going on in play, my initial prediction was Juan Soto. Obviously, with players, being able to, not be on certain teams anymore, and players more or less not being able to play, I feel like this is a guy who turned $440 million down from the Nationals, and will be hitting in front of Aaron Judge, a guy who's, obviously been in that position to help and provide for his team. So I feel like obviously Soto has been able to do what he has in the past on the Padres, but I feel like going to a stadium and a team such as the Yankees, and we've seen it so far how he's been playing, he's gone through some rough stretches. I feel like last year he had a brutal little sled where he wasn't really getting hits, but it was like kind of the Soto walk party. We've seen that so far this season where he's been able to walk, but he's also been hitting a lot better, which has been extremely interesting to watch. Obviously, he had a bunch of statistics. He was the 5th highest OPS in history for a player before his age 25 season, and by all accounts given, he is on a pace for a Hall of Fame history, career. But I felt like just with the transition from where he was to where he is now, we'll be able to see him put up some better numbers than his 290 hitting average last year, which for a hitter like him and a player like him, I guess you would quote unquote put that below average. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch him play and be able to produce so far as he has, with Stanton constantly being injured. Judge hasn't really gotten off to a hot start, so I'd like to see that. I do predict that can wind up heading down the road. I think right now in the National League it's hard because with the Dodgers, my head is at the fact that the Dodgers will have Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani, and obviously that eats itself for for voting on terms of MVP, just with all them being on the same team. But given Mookie Betts has started off so strong, it's just been hard to doubt the fact that he might not have an MVP year with the way he's going. Obviously, there could be another MVP caliber year from Matt Olson or Corbin Carroll or Fernando Tatis. But for Harper coming back from Tommy John surgery in just 106 days, he hit almost 300, 401, 499 in the 126 games he played, and over 1,000 OPS in October. So I'm just excited to watch what he can do. Obviously, it's a young pick, and it's something that we'll be able to see. I think in terms of what's been going on so far, I'd be shocked to see Mookie Betts not play and continue his play, as well as the fact that Ronald Acuna is still there, and Ronald Acuna is something that is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, just with the way he plays. I mean, obviously repeat MVPs are quite rare, if very rare, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was to do it, or if Mookie was to do it. I think Mookie, with the way he's been playing, and I know I keep saying that, it's just impressive to see with that team. Obviously, we see Ohtani batting over 300, we see Freddie batting over 300, but we're able to see Mookie go out and have these long stretch. He's pretty much at a certain point in the beginning of the season, he was leading the league through like 8 games, and given some teams haven't played that much, in every single statistic category when it came to hits, home runs, batting average, etc. But I still do think Bryce Harper is on another level just when it comes to his ability to hit, and I don't think he should be counted out. But I give him for my early prediction right now. Obviously, with the way Mookie's been playing, we'll see how that winds up going. For Cy Young, in the American League, I have Pablo Lopez. He's finally won a Cy Young, and Garrett Cole might be able to win another. I think it's interesting to see whether or not certain players prove themselves from the past seasons. Like, I always look back on Alek Manoah and what's been going on with him in single A. I think it's interesting to say the least that Garrett Cole, obviously, after winning it, last year, it bars the question with his injury, can he come back and produce it the way he did before? But I think Pablo, improved himself as a true 27-year-old ace. When he went from Miami to Minnesota, he upped his innings to a career high 194, an ERA that was 17% better than the league average, and improved his K to walk ratio, striking out 234 batters and only earning 1 run over the 12 and 2/3 innings in the starts between the Blue Jays and Astros he played in the playoffs in October. I think when it comes to him, he's only scratched the surface in terms of what he can do, but obviously with the pitches he's added, he's averaged a sweeper. He's been able to add a 5-pitch mix that could genuinely hold opponents to an average of below 200, when he did add that last season, he was able to hold them to a 173 average with only a 287 slugging percentage. I feel like given the position he's in, although the Twins aren't that good, and given that, any team needs a good defense to produce a Cy Young season. I think he could very much be up there in the running. I think it's not too early to say that with what he's been able to do from the Marlins over to the Minnesota Twins, it wouldn't be ridiculous to say that he could win a Cy Young. Looking at the National League, I have a little bit of a more or less, I don't know. When it comes to predictions, like I always say, I don't want to choose the easy man. And I feel like last year's Cy Young field in the National League was complicated. Looking at Blake Snell, looking at Zach Gallen, Spencer Strider. I do think Strider can come out and win it this year, but I have Walker Buehler for the Dodgers right now. I think he was extremely good last year. He obviously wound up with a 2.47 ERA and a major league best 171 ERA and 271 innings and 207 innings in 2021. And then he blew out his elbow. I think in a contract year with an arsenal that includes fastballs, cutters, and sliders, especially when he could throw for strikes and not walk, I think it could be similar, if not that, to the Justin Verlander 2022 season. That it's not to be feared. The Tommy John surgery. But with that being given, I do believe the Dodgers will be probably careful with him, as they have been, early on, and it continues to the fact that they just have such a good rotation right now with all the pitchers they have. Given if he needed to, Ohtani could pitch. Clearly he doesn't want to, and he said that multiple times this year, but I think it's a very interesting thing to look at. I think Cy Young is an award that changes so much throughout the season that it's really hard to predict, but I'm definitely excited to see where that goes. For Rookie of the Year, I think the safer selection for me right now so far has been Wyatt Langford. This can't be a prediction just because I've seen so much of certain people play. Also, I want Jackson Holliday to come out and win the Rookie of the Year. I love Jackson Holliday. I've been a huge fan of his. But obviously Langford has been really, really strong in his first couple starts. I'm pretty sure he's hitting like 260. He gave him some... the Rangers gave him some promoting him from AAA to the bigs in September, and so obviously, and the opportunity he's had, he's obviously taken advantage of it. Given that he almost stole from first to home like 2 games ago on a passed pitch, so I think being the 4th overall pick, being such a young pick, being such a player that's gotten already thrown in to the mix, and being able to perform as well as he has, I think Wyatt Langford is definitely one of those Rookie of the Years to watch, and one of those. Maybe not star-studded, maybe not star Rookie of the Year where it comes out and he's like, oh my God, he's having a crazy year. But I think he's been fantastic so far in his role on that, championship team. But for the National League, my favorite player that I've played with in MLB so much, and partly because he is from Pittsburgh, I got to say Paul Skeens. I think obviously the Dodgers signing of the Japanese pitcher will be a favorite just because of the way he pitched overseas and what he'll be able to come over here and do. But the Pirates obviously are going to promote their number 1 pitcher into baseball as soon as they can, and you know how it is with pitchers in general when it comes to coming from college to the big leagues. But if you watched him in the incredible LSU team last year, he looked ready for the big stage, more ready than anyone that I've seen in general. He's probably the most ready in terms of big league pitchers from college than Steven Strasburg, and I think the one thing about Paul Skeens that is something that you always got to say is his velocity. You could always teach pitches, you could always teach like certain things in terms of technique and what you want to come out in there and do, but Paul Skeens has a fastball that no one can hit, and I think that's one of the reasons why I have him in such a high pick for Rookie of the Year. And given all these awards, I feel like early on predictions never really go well in terms of injuries and what winds up happening during the course of the season. But given, I'm excited to see how any of this turns out, because I think baseball is one of those sports that is so capturing, even though it goes on for so long, and even though it just seems like it's never ending, really. I know for a fact when it ended, I was like, I can't believe it already started back up, and I'm just back into it again, just as much as I was when it ended. But I'm definitely excited to see all these players play this year. I'm definitely excited to see who's going to win. And if I could give a prediction for who's going to win, obviously I want to say the Dodgers, just because their team is so good. But honestly, I really think the Orioles could be a good team to get in the playoffs and maybe not win, but given I think they can sneak their way into maybe the World Series, play whatever team they wind up playing. But I think the Orioles are a team to watch. I don't know. I'm just a huge fan of Gunnar and Jackson and Adley, that whole team, and they got Corbin Burns now. They got some good pitching. I'm just a big fan of young players, especially when it comes down to playing better than you expect them to. And I expect Jackson Holliday to come out and be a star, just like Jason Dominguez was before he got injured. I think Jason Dominguez is one of those players that's going to come back and again dominate like he did in the first couple games. I'm pretty sure he hit like a home run on his first at bat. So with the baseball season underway, and we're only a couple games in, I look forward to what is to come, and I hope my predictions wind up holding up. Next week, I'm going to have two of my friends on, my roommate Oscar and his friend Will. We're going to be talking about some basketball as we come into the playoffs and the games are closing down. I know I gave my predictions with Pat already, but I think we want to talk more or less with the seeding kind of being decided at this point, what matchups we want to see, what we predict to see in the first round, the second round, the third round, and ultimately who we think is going to win the finals, given that we have now the proper scheduling. So I appreciate you guys watching as always. I apologize for not having an episode last week, due to the weather here in Ithaca and the power outage and all that. But as always, thank you for watching, and tune in next week.